Okay. Call to order the agenda for the West Valley School Board regular meeting, October 9th, 2023. Citizens may comment on items appearing on the agenda when invited to participate during the agenda item by the board chair. Citizens may comment on items related to school district business not appearing on this agenda during the public comment portion of the meeting. Citizens, after identifying themselves, will proceed to make comments as briefly as the subject permits. Basic rules of decorum are in effect at all times. The chairperson may interrupt or terminate an individual statement when appropriate, including when statements are out of order, too lengthy, breach personal privacy rights, are abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or otherwise improper. The public should realize that this is a trustee business meeting conducted in a public forum. Stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have, we'll go on to the consent agenda. I want one change to make, just a little one, on the minutes of the prior meeting. It just said that, we switched it from 5 o'clock to 4 o'clock. It was 5:30 to 4. I mean, so, but you might want to just change that in there. Otherwise, they would very need.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with Maryland's no change.
I'll second it. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approval of the bills. I guess, just for clarification's sake, I still have a question with what we're doing with this interlocal agreement with Marion, where we're paying for printing services and envelopes. And you're just acting as intermediary for that again?
Yes, we're called the
what's deal?
fiduciary for that, so we just administer it. It's a collection for schools. We don't pay for it. They send us money. We deposit it on their behalf, and then it's coded so that it comes out of that interlocal agreement and it's tracked to their school. So that actually comes out of their funds that they deposit with us.
But it's under your responsibility to keep track of it?
Correct, yes. So
Okay.
on a monthly basis, I do income statements with the interest that's earned on those, as well as any requests for checks to create those checks and do the billing for those schools. Yes.
And do you get compensated for that?
No.
We just do that the goodness of our hearts.
That's, yeah, exactly. It's another one of those. Mhm.
Okay. And then it's this McGraw-Hill School Education here for all these reading materials, about $8,000. Is that's in the budget, I assume? We budgeted for some special education.
Yeah, we talked about those in the summer.
Yeah.
That showed up this time.
So it just showed up.
Yes. There's no other questions. I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
I'll second it. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Well. Here, Mark. All right, there's no correspondence, and no, nobody signed up for public participation. So we will go on to the Westfield report. If there is one. There isn't. Okay. All right, I thought that this will be maybe good. It looks like there was some good action at the elementary.
It looks like it's been revived.
It does. Yeah. At the elementary open house, it was really encouraging to see the table set up and people swarming around them. Maybe we need to encourage somebody to come to the meeting and make the little report.
She's out of town this week, otherwise I think she would be here.
Oh,
But-
great.
So I think maybe next.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alicia. All right, now the West Valley Teachers Association report. Do we have a report from the Teachers Association?
We'll start with Matt Hancock.
I think we have a presentation.
That's, yeah, you fall into that category.
That's
So,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Awesome.
We're ready.
All right, take it away, Mr. Hancock.
Mr. Huckroot's gonna give us a presentation.
Cool. Hey gang, come on up. Hey everybody. Let's see. AJ, you're probably there. Come on in over here. Smile around the edge of the table over there. Let's kind of cover the table for a little bit and we'll clear out when AJ's presenting his stuff. So we got a little sort of 10-minute presentation here. So we are after school club, and curricular club here at West Valley School. There's a slight difference between curricular clubs and non-curricular clubs. So 4-H, for example, might use the facilities and meet at the facilities, but is not otherwise sponsored by West Valley School. And then, but then we are sponsored by West Valley School. And so there's a student organization here. We meet after school from 3:30 to 5:15 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and run the Tech Warriors Club. Last year, I had the honor of coaching. I think we started at about 32 kids, and by the time we finished, we ended up with, I think, 27, and then gained a few more. So it kind of ebbs and flows a little bit, but not too much. Generally, what we do is, I guess our backstory here would be after COVID, we had all these awesome kids coming from their houses where they were very comfortable, but we're struggling to collaborate with other kids and be on a team. The athletes weren't having the same struggle. They worked well as a team and competed together for a common goal, but collaboration in the classroom was hard. So one of the things we were looking for was, is there ways to foster team skills, not necessarily for people who are interested in athletics, right? Because that's a huge percentage of our population wants to be on a team, but may not be interested in competing athletically. And so this came out with the first robotics program when we started the Tech Warriors Club. Lily's going to introduce what that is and a little bit more about FIRST Robotics. What?
Stay here.
Yeah, you can present from there. I'll run the screen.
Okay, First Lego League is a division of First, and First is compiled of First Lego League, First Tech Challenge, and First Robotics Competition. We are the youngest of that age group, and First works to help have kids explore science and technology more. And we have core values so that we work on, maybe it's not all about robotics at this point. It gets more serious once you get into the older levels. Right now, it's more just working together as a team, being able to research and complete harder tasks.
Oh, I suppose we could say that what we do at this level is kind of comprised of 4 equal parts. There's the robot design and robot game. So it's 50% robotics. And then I think the more challenging part is creating an innovation project. Which we're going to go into more detail in a second. And then, of course, running the core values, meaning that our teams each need to demonstrate the following values here, which is just teamwork, inclusion, impacting our local community, having fun, discovering new things, and innovating new ideas or incorporating new technologies. And so if we do those, we win. So this is what winning looks like, is working together as a team in a productive way. AJ, I think you want to introduce the robot game. Can we step away from the table there again? Just kind of cruise around the side there, so
You guys
people
can
kind of
come
see
this
the
way too, I
robot
can
table.
scoot down.
Part of the First Lego League is the robot thing. Where at the end of the year, we make little design things to go things to put challenges that our robots that we make can complete. And we build them up throughout the year. The board changes every year depending on the theme. Last year, we did something last year, which was energy, like we renovate it and how to make it better And yeah, you gain points depending on how much of some little white beads like these, don't know if you can see very well, you obtain and bring back to your home, which are too long enough. There are many restrictions in this, like depending on where your robot is, you can't touch it without removing points. It has to be a certain size and other things. So that's mainly all.
Is this a remote control robot?
It is not remote controlled. If it was remote controlled, it would have an unfair advantage if the team is being able to use the same code repeatedly to get better results throughout it. It is not remote controlled at all.
The whole thing can be pretty stressful, as you can imagine. The teams get pretty excited because they've coded their robot to do something. So you can see on the left, this team is very excited to see if their robot is a couple millimeters off from the target, and will it be successful? You can tell us if it was in fact successful here by Mr. Kling's reaction. So it's kind of nail biting. They've spent hours building and hours coding. All told, I think for building one of these robots, I would say they spend probably anywhere between 40 to 60 hours building and coding a robot. And then they're in front of a stage of judges with referees to see if it works, or it can be a little bit nerve wracking. So, awesome, thanks, AJ. Chloe?
The innovation project is a project that you find a problem in the world that you want to solve based on a theme. Last year's theme was how to make, store, and read and consume energy. And you make a board, a video, and a script to explain your innovation. And present to judges, you have the outreach to a customer or professional.
Each team has to create their own, and it has to be innovative and on theme. Obviously, this theme here was energy, or the theme was super powered and energized. So, and you want to say anything about your particular project here?
Project, or my team's project was the solar dome. It was a solar panel in the shape of a dome, so it could collect more energy.
And so you guys have to do a lot of research about solar shapes, materials, and how they work, right? There's quite a lot of research that goes into this sort of project as well. Is it? What's your story?
So when I first started first Lego League, I did not know what I was doing. I was just joined onto some random team, and it was thing. But we actually managed to make it to state, which really surprised me because we argued a little bit, and then sometimes we just utterly did not have any faith in ourselves. So we did not do the best. But when we made it to state, we tried our best and we tried to calm ourselves down, and it really helped me just find out what I love to do, which is robotics and building Legos. And I also love to cheer on my team because it just makes me so happy to see them so excited for something I'm excited for too. It's really fun to be able to connect with people that I usually don't in school, and then just actually get to know them for who they are rather than who they pretend to be.
One of the things we really like too is taking the team bus. So when we go to the team events, we actually hop on the bus, it's like a proper event. We got like stuff in the back that we've created. And this is all at the qualifier. But if you qualify for state, it gets a little bit bigger. So this is at the state level competition. And this is only the top 25% of teams in Montana qualified for state, right? So this is the top 25%, of which 100% of our teams went to state. So we had 3 teams make it to state. So we were, at 100 right now. So 3 tries, 3 win. Yeah, it's super awesome. It was really nerve wracking as they were calling our names out, right? To see if we made it or not. Like 12 teams were making it, and it was just like they fit list the first 6, and we're not in the first 6. And they called out all of our names, and everyone just blew up. It's fantastic. So it's loud. It's like a rock show, it's a concert. There's a bunch of nerds hanging out. It's awesome. It's a good time. So, all right. Hunter, you're up. What's your story, man?
Hello everyone, my name is Hunter Russell. I'm 11 years old. I have tried many different sports. My favorite sport was hockey, but I discovered I love robotics even more. I originally joined robotics because I really liked Legos and I enjoyed working with my hands and solving puzzles. Tech Warriors was able to combine each of these skills and help me grow them. I felt like I was an important part of the team, even more than when I played hockey. In Tech Warriors, I learned coding, teamwork, and robot building, which will absolutely help me excel in the future. I like that there is a different team every year. It's great that I can meet new friends that like the same things I do. I look to Robotics Club every year. Thank you for your time. To add to that, well, I kind of thought it was just Legos, and since I was good at Legos, I thought I would fit in like everyone else. But I could actually make new friends, which it's always been a struggle in the past few years.
Everyone gets to be on a team and everyone does a little bit more than just building Legos. I think the toys are sort of the gimmick that get the kids in the door, but then it's the research and the career applications that really stick to the program. As they get a lot of benefit from it, and they get to go to university at a state level competition, which is a lot of identity built there as well. So Coco is.
What I liked about last year was it was definitely more of a teamwork thing than the actual robots. We learned to work together as a team and to overcome hardships, such as when our robot glitched.
How's it sound?
Happens to all of us.
Very fun, and the teamwork and really how everyone participated and had fun during the project was also really what it really meant to me was it was really fun, and it meant that there were a lot of people that had the same hobbies as me, that I could connect with other people that I've seen before but never talked to, and it's really nice to just like you see someone, have never talked to them, and then you actually get to meet them and you get to like find out what they're about. So it's really nice to be able to connect with people, and when it went to me, it was just like it was really fun. And there were a lot of people around.
We were able to participate in multiple outreach events, including a Range Riders game. We were alongside an FTC team, the Row Scout Squad, which I am also a part of, and they created a first pitch robot, so I was able to throw the first pitch of the game. We had a stand and we were able to promote our robotics team. We were also able to go to Sway Day, where we were alongside we were the first Lego, and then there was FTC, the Robo Scouts from here, and Eureka, and an FRC team from Missoula. And so we were able to showcase each part of first. And we had a sumo bot station, so you're able to build a robot. And then the sumo is just where you have two robots face each other and trying to push each other off the board, basically. It's fun. You're able to do that.
Yeah, we were all there for that. So we've been pretty busy this year. We've basically doubled in size. So we ended about 27 kids, and this year we're just over 50 starting out. So that works out to about 12 to 14% of the middle school population is in our club. None of us get stipends. We're all volunteers right now. I think whether we could qualify for stipends and whether this qualifies as something like a sport, I think would be something we could discuss at some point. Because I've got a lot of coaches and a lot of parent volunteers and a lot of families involved in this sort of event as well. But right now it's just completely community driven. It's community led and community supported. We don't have any funding from the school. That's not to say the school doesn't support us though. We use the facilities, we use the computers, we use the space. And so that's huge. If we were to rent the equivalent space, that'd be a huge amount of money. So thank you all for having us here running this club. It's growing up to something pretty big. Now we've got 6 teams. Whether all 6 qualify for state seems unlikely, but it's going to be a tough competition. As First is also growing up in the state of Montana, where now I think there's 140 or 150 teams this year. So the competition gets stiffer, and we're going to have more qualifiers and more events. The whole thing does tend to be pretty expensive. I kind of printed off some expense report stuff just in terms of like what does it cost to fund a club, and it's pretty comparable to any other team sport here at West Valley. All told, it's about $1,600 to run a team to the state competition, which is about the same as running a sports team if you don't factor in the stipends for the coaches as well. In terms of community support though, if we got 6 teams and all 6 teams go to state, we're looking at about spending $18,000 to get everybody there. We've got the first 7 or 8,000 already funded, but we got a little ways to go. If we qualify for nationals, that's looking at hotels and airfare to Houston as well, for our teams. Well, the top team in the state goes to Houston, so maybe we got some talent here. We got talent and we've got experience, which I would say I don't have much experience, but I think this is an awesome program and definitely have invested some time. I think Mr. Keller and I last year volunteered each over 100 hours for this club, over 100 hours of time, right? And doing the coordinating, I think took a little bit more than that. So I think my tally is around 175 hours volunteers last year, just in this club. We're getting some honor society kids coming in from the high school now as well to do some service hours and coach the kids. So we're trying to incorporate with the next level, which is high school. So we do need community support. Along with the packet I gave you is sort of a how to fund. And if you happen to know any businesses or companies that would want to support our club at any level, or personally, if you want to support the club at any level, we would sure appreciate it. I think it's a pretty neat program. The community has always been there for us so far. And I think we're building something special here. I think these kids are over. With that, thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. And if anybody else wants one of those packets, I've got more of those. Cool. Awesome. So, any questions for us or the
Just a
team members?
question about the bus. How do you coordinate the bus for that?
We rented it through Treasure State.
Okay. So those were donated dollars that.
Yes, we used
provided the
donated
bus to-
dollars to buy that. If there was some way that we could get a discounted bus rate, that was more expensive than I expected. I think we were charged just to get to Missoula and back for the day. It was $1,200 just for a day out and back. If there's some way to work with the district to get that, that was a big one. And if we qualified multiple teams, it'd be cool to take the team bus, for Bozeman, that'd be so much fun to have all the teams on the bus. It was a ton of fun just going to Missoula, go to Museum of the Rockies, like bus down, go to Museum of the Rockies, staying up, get a block of rooms at the pool or something like that, and then compete the next day. That'd be awesome. So, but I think the bus, we got the quote for that, and it's $3,600 bus down. So we can divide it up by the number of kids. It's not that different than driving each family in their own car. So in terms of gas and expenses. So kind of divides out. Yeah. QR code takes you to the website. We're on, we got our Facebook page, we got our Instagram, and of course there's community outreach and photographs and what we're doing, builder blogs and stuff like that on the website. It's pretty cool. You can't donate on the website. All funds have to go through West Valley School. We're an affiliate club. So basically checks or cash would have to be donated at the office with a clear note that says it's for. Yeah, exactly. Whereas otherwise, I'm sure the school would happily accept it. Oh. Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Great job.
That was pretty. Thanks.
We're gonna leave the game table cleaned up. Do take my iPad though. Oh, I have my iPad.
Thanks for it, guys. Okay, principal's report.
Can I do another report right now?
Sure.
Sure. I promised last month that I would bring SBAC information to you, so this is the SBAC information.
Okay, thank you.
Tanya Jewett, and this is, I'm wearing my test coordinator hat today to bring you this information. SBACs are 3rd through 8th grade, so I'm going to present the 3rd and 4th grade from the elementary to you right now. And I shared the presentation with you just because it's a little bit tricky to see up here. You'll be able to see the graphs, but that way you can kind of dive in a little bit deeper. These first 2 pages I'm going to go through quickly. It's just, I wanted you to understand, if you haven't seen your student, if you don't have a student here and haven't seen the student report, then I just wanted you to see that basically a 1, 2, 3, and 4 is how they rate or score the SBACs. And 1 is novice, 2 nearing proficiency, 3 proficient, and 4 above. And so as we're going through the graph information, that'll come in handy. So this is the ELA and math, and it gives a little explanation on there too that you might look through later. All right. So this first slide is the Montana ELA scores, all of Montana. And I just wanted to kind of show you the green and blue are 3 and 4s, the numbers I just talked about. So proficient and above, proficient and advanced. And so early on, 2015, 2016, you can see down here, we were in that range of about the 50th percentile between the blue. So kids that were doing well, 50th percentile, 50% of the kids were doing well, sorry. And then getting up into the current scores, we're at 44.97%. So that's of course after COVID and hopefully trying to make that rebound. And again, this is the whole state of Montana and ELA, which is English Language Arts. And so I'm going to go on to math. And so early on, we were at about 41.77% of the students who were proficient or advanced. And then now, current day, 37.5%. All of Montana. Moving into just the Flathead Valley. So early on, around 62.77%, and then current day 53.3%. So everyone's showing that kind of, you know, slouch after. This is our math. Early on, 48.71%, and current day 43.32%. And again, that's Flathead County. So then I'm just going to jump to West Valley's current percentage. And we're at 58% right now. And I will show you with Flathead Valley and with Montana how we stack up. But early on, we were at 67% when the test first started out. So now we're at 58%. So we've seen that little slide too. And then this is our math. Early on, or currently 49%. Early on, 2000, I think this one was from 2019, it was 66%. So then, all of the scores, Montana, Flathead, and West Valley. This is ELA, English Language Arts. You can see in 2018-19 that West Valley definitely had a good lead on everyone there. Just in terms of, you know, things like demographics make a difference, and our demographics are changing, but early on, this is kind of where we sat when you compared us with Montana and the Flathead Valley. And then just interesting to look through the years 21, 22, 23. We're back we're doing as well as Flathead. Kind of in that same boat. Montana still struggling to get back up there. We've always talked about in the past how West Valley we'd like to see in that 80th percentile, 80% doing well. And so that's been our goal over the years, and like I said, COVID kind of knocked us down, but I think just trying to figure out how to get past that plateau, how to get our school performing a little bit higher. And this is our math. Oh, I'm sorry, that was 3rd grade. This is our 4th grade data.
So these are the current 5th graders, right?
Current 5th graders.
Okay.
Yep. So I was excited by our ELA here. And then this is the 3rd grade math data. Both COVID and starting a new curriculum have been part of those years too. And then our 4th grade math data is really exciting.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to kind of look at other states, but it's tricky. We don't all have the exact same state test. Everyone has a state test. And then trying to decide what schools to look at, what states to look at. I've chosen a few random states. And ELA is the blue and math is the red. And you can see where Montana's kind of at over here in the path. is mostly for interest sake.
This is 2023, 22.
Yes, this is the most current.
Current.
Any questions? Anything you've been wondering about us?
What do you think the biggest challenge to reverse some of those declining trends, or I mean, what do you think like the optimal solution would involve, I guess?
I feel like we're on a good path with our math, with the curriculum. The ELA is a little bit of a mystery to me because I do feel like we have a really strong writing program. I know, we don't have a purchased program per se, but we have worked to be very consistent. And right now I'm speaking elementary, Tina will speak more to middle school. But, consistency between the teachers, I feel like our students are strong writers. They've had a lot of changes in the SBAC over the years, and we used to do what was called a performance task, and the students really could showboat their writing, but it was intense. It was really, really hard for third, fourth, fifth, sixth. It was just a really intense test. And so they scaled that off after COVID, and they do a brief write, which I'm not so sure is a great way to sample their writing in general. The state is still working through some other alternatives to how to do SBAC and what the best way is to gather the information. So I'm struggling a little bit with pinpointing why our writing isn't taking off more in the SBAC. And Tina might have more when she speaks about it to say about that, but I'm not really sure. We continue to, try to shore that up and try to be consistent and try to give the kids really consistent graphic organizers and the same process through which to do their writing. But COVID too, maybe kind of us off track a little bit there. Yeah, it's a good question. Something I'm curious about.
What about from state to state? I know obviously you don't have every state there, but I'm not sure if Florida is the highest performing state, but is there anything that you can glean or that you've noticed from state to state from like a funding level or a program level that leads to better scoring and
Right, I think that'd be an interesting, interesting research to do. I actually was trying to find just who was viewed as like one of the higher states, which I think I ended up Wisconsin or someone, but I didn't see the difference that I thought I would see between the states. No, I think that would be interesting to look into more what they're doing. They're writing once they're performing higher. But
And you guys feel better about the math program, like based on the new curriculum and all that?
I know I feel good about the consistency and what we have from grade level to grade level, just having everyone more on the same page. I don't know if you guys want to speak more to the math, what you think. I think just having that is a big help. I think like every new math program, it's taking time to get into it and learn it, but I was really encouraged in the scores. I think like any program, it's been difficult to get started, but. Anything else?
I've got a question. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Laura.
Okay, perfect. I didn't want to start rambling away without knowing. So my question is I know that last year supplementation in the math program was kind of a no-no. Are you guys supplementing this year? And if so, like, are you tracking what sort of supplementation you're using?
I think yes, because everything had to be approved. So I think we are tracking it, and yes, it is being tracked, right?
Yeah, tracking. Are you bringing some supplementing in together? Yes.
Yeah.
So who approves that?
Well, if it's like a tech supplementation, the tech committee would.
And I feel like that, at least for second grade, is an area we're still lacking. We don't have the tech support for math. But other supplementations, it's just what we know kids need and have found that has worked. And I feel I have enjoyed the math curriculum more this year because I don't feel like I can't plug in what I know kids need. And so I think we're getting more out of it. A, we're more familiar as a staff, but B, I know what the standards are and I know where the gaps and holes are, and I feel like I can fill those better. My only critique would be the online component. We just don't have it really at all in second grade. There's an Into Math login, but we don't have other supplements with that, so.
Are we paying for that and we don't have it?
I mean, they can log on to Into Math, but the product itself is not very user friendly, whereas other grade levels, they have the Waggle and that kind of stuff that goes with Into Math. And I know some grade levels, fourth maybe uses it.
Third and fourth has many.
Third and fourth, so, yeah. So that's something I know First has explored, a supplement, an online tech supplement that was approved. And so for second grade, we're looking into something like that too. That is cost effective, meaning $0. So.
And we're using Happy Numbers in first grade. And it's free this year, but next year they charge you.
The program
The
with
program.
God charges you?
Yeah, I think
After
next
what
year it's
we
like
paid for.
4,000.
No, it's not.
Not
It's a math
Into
program.
Oh, no, it's not part of Into Math.
Oh,
First
It's
grade
like a
did ask
supplement.
if they could use Happy Math and
this would be another math program?
No, it's like we break our class into 2 groups. And so your high learners, you would teach the lesson first, and then they would go onto the computer and work on Happy Numbers. They take like an assessment online and then it places them at their ability level. And then you would teach your lower group. So you can just get more one-on-one time with kids.
it's similar to what they would use Waggle for if they had Waggle. Waggle's a lot more expensive. Waggle is the Into program that is so much more.
And in the past second grade, we've had Reflex, and that's been a great fluency program, but that's costly. So we've been trying to look for something to kind of replace the fluency aspect and fill that hole.
Thank you.
Part of my principal's report is on her computer, so that's
Oh, okay.
easy to pull it up if nobody else is going. Okay. Okay, so I just briefly wanted to talk about the A and B that came out recently, specifically with the elementary. So our numbers last week, we were at 417 K4. And then I just posted the previous A and B counts just so you can kind of see where we've been and how we're just kind of hanging out and not really growing, which is a surprise because in the years before COVID, I feel like we were growing, and it was taking off. And then recently we just aren't. So kids are moving and being replaced, but it doesn't. And it's interesting with all the new housing and things coming in that we're still just kind of hanging out here. So just wanted to show that those numbers and then also kind of do a breakdown so you could see how many kids we have in each grade level. So for kindergarten, we have 73 this year between 4 teachers, which puts about 18 to 19 kids per class. And they are allowed legally to have 20. So we're getting up there. First grade has 83 students enrolled and 5 classrooms. So it puts about 16 to 17. We're able to have 20 in a class. Second grade is at 73 with 4 teachers, about 18 to 19 kids per class. We can have 20. Third grade's at 97 with 5 teachers. So they're 19 to 20 kids per class, and we can get up to 28 there. Fourth grade's at 95 with 4 teachers. So they've got about 23 to 24 kids. We can get up to 28. So it's interesting too that, or unfortunate that we had our A and B last week. We were at 417, and since then, as of today, we've already gotten new students and we're at 421. but didn't get funding for them, so they started just a few days too late. But so I do think we're gonna see some growth, especially as the apartments start getting filled up and things like that. I think there's gonna be more and more kids coming in, but this is just kind of what our enrollment's looking like. And then I also wanted to just talk about kids that are federally chronically absent and kind of what our plan is this year to kind of target that. So the definition of a student who is chronically absent is a student who is enrolled for at least 10 days in a school and absent for 10% or more of those days. So it's really early, so these numbers seem really big. As we go through the year, it'll come down quite a bit, but I just thought it was interesting to look at. So right now, this is just for K4. Students that have missed 10 to 15% of the school year already, we have 44 students that have already missed that much school. We have 12 students that have missed 15 to 20% of the school year already. And then we have 9 students that have missed 20% and above. So we have a letter that we send out in the elementary, and we're going to be sending it out mid-trimester throughout the school year. And I think it is early now, but I think it's good to let parents know that it's kind of on our radar and kind of talk about the importance of attendance and how it affects their education. And so we decided with this one, we were gonna send letters to the people that were 15%, that had missed 15% or more of the school year thus far. So those letters got sent out today, just to kind of let parents know that technically their student, their child is federally chronically absent at this point. And then I'm working with Anna Porter, the counselor, to come up with some ideas of kind of incentives to get the kids here and wanting to be at school. And a lot of times at the elementary level, it's not the kid's fault though too, it's on the parents. But I think if we can have some fun incentives and things kind of going where kids are talking about it, it might kind of help that. So we've talked about maybe creating, some bulletin boards where grade levels or classes, we can kind of keep track of attendance and have it out here to where parents can see it, and just kind of know the importance of it. Anna created a little flyer that we can send out just talking about that has some facts and data about the importance of attendance and how it affects education for children. We talked about even trying to create small incentives for those kids that are missing a ton and it's not their fault, but when they're here, we want them to feel excited and we want to reward them for those things. So we have some ideas in place that we're going to try to get going this year to help with some of this, because at the end of last year we had quite a few kids that were chronically absent and it was affecting their education. So
have you broke this down into families? I mean, is families that you can point to and say there's 40 families that the kids?
Yes, so some of them are families.
Right.
Yeah. So this is individual
We look at
students, but there
individual
are
kids,
some
but
that are
that-
coming from the same
It could
family.
be a family problem.
For sure. Yeah. So it's just something to think about, and we want to try to tackle early on this year and have those conversations early with families. So. Yeah. And then we had our open house last Thursday and I felt like a huge success. I feel like we had a really great turnout. Tons of families in here. Everybody seemed really positive and happy. We had some tables and booths set up out front, which was really well received. We set up a substitute teacher booth to try to just recruit people and let the community know that we're in need. And we had treats donated, which was really helpful because then the kids would bring their parents over because they saw cookies. So that was really helpful to get the conversation going. So, we got a few applications for that, but there were also a lot of families that took applications with them. So hopefully we'll receive some back as well. So that was it was good. There were a lot of good conversations had there. And it was kind of it felt like we were getting kind of back on track with that community involvement. And then with the PTO getting back on track and starting some cool things like the Boo Bash and stuff like that. I think we're going to start getting a lot of people in the door We also have the Munch and Mingle, like parent-student lunch coming up at the end of October for the elementary. So it's gonna be a week of, each grade level has a day where their parents or grandparents can come in and have lunch with them. And it's pretty simple, but it's just another way to kind of get people in the door, because that's one of our main focuses this year. As a leadership team and as an elementary school, that's one of the things that we chose things to really focus on this year, and community involvement was one of those. And so we're going to be doing that. And then we also are going to have an assembly. So we haven't had an assembly since before COVID. So none of our elementary kids have experienced assembly. So we're gonna tackle that and teach them expectations and start that with the Warrior Way, because that's, their core governing documents for students, and we really want them to kind of get back into that. And yeah, so we've got some good things going in the future, and it's busy, but that's all good things.
All right,
Questions?
Thank you. Beth.
Okay.
Thank you. That's great.
I'm gonna share a little more on scoring. Elementary scoring. That one just popped up there. I'm gonna do something. So I was just gonna share a little bit of the data. Tanya reached out to me and said she was going to be sharing, and I thought I would kind of share the middle school in a different way, in a way that we looked at it. Anyone can look at this. I sent it to Mark so that he could put it in the minutes. He has this deck in there, and anyone can go on the GEMS OPI, and GEMS is their system for looking up data across the state, and you can go in there and manipulate things and look at different student groups. I'm going to give kind of a broad picture about this in the middle school. You could really get into the weeds with it if you wanted to with the numbers. So just go ahead and go forward this. Influences that I see over time, positive and negative influences. Teacher efficacy and their understanding of their topics has a lot of pull, and their transfer ability. I think our teachers have great influence and pull on this. They're doing a great job. Response to intervention in MTSS is really makes a big difference, especially at the elementary. It's less effective at middle school level. So, and you could go to Hattie. A lot of you know about Hattie and looking at effect size of different elements. So you could go see what really draws at different grade levels. But evidence-based curriculum programs and fidelity. And I think that's sometimes people think that's fidelity, doing the program exactly as it is. And we all know that every program has some gaps in it. And it's fidelity to understanding what your standards are and what you need to get across. So some of the teachers were speaking to that, like knowing what you have to get in there. The COVID shutdown, still feeling that a lot. For kids that were out at different levels, we see that early on, whether it was place value or different things that they missed, elements are affecting them. The influx of new students. So by the time I'm looking at these kiddos in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, if I look at the percentage that were here that started with us, and the percent that are with us towards the end, so we're not always in control of that early ed part. It's not as neat of a package. There's a lot of coming and going at that point. Early years and school readiness makes a big difference for kids, and what they come to us at kindergarten with, and whether that exposure before then has a big influence. And then student effort overall is just a really big one. And I have seen groups score up and down depending on what's happening with them at the time. So that's been interesting over time. This is the science proficiency levels, and this one here is just for the state of Montana. So we have the MSA, the Montana Science Assessment, is taken in 5th grade and 8th grade. In 5th grade, it's taken, it's summative of the elementary years, and in 8th grade, it's summative for 6, 7, and 8. So in the state, over the last 2 years with this test, this is a new test, it was state developed. Before this, we had what was called the CRT, a criterion reference test. So kind of a bland name for it. But so we have the Montana Science Assessment, and this is the state
over the last 2 years with the new test, 8th grade at 41% proficient last year in the state. And for 8th grade year, 57% proficient. And we had moved up from the year before where we had 11% or so. We're in the red there, like Tanya was talking about, where that red is novice, yellow nearing proficient, green proficient, and then blue advanced. So that was our 8th graders last year who are now at the high school. So that is their 6th, 7th, and 8th grade summative test. And then 5th grade for the state last year was at 41%, and really not a lot of change. This one was interesting to me. From the first year they took the test to the second year they took the test, not a great amount of change at the state level, but our 5th graders kind of made some gains on this, and we're at 49% proficient, but they made some gains over the year before. So it was kind of nice to see that at 5th grade. Another way to look at this, this is the math overall. Tanya shared again, she shared with you about the red being novice and then yellow nearing proficient, and then we have our proficiency. So this is our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So I like to look at my 5th grade with our 3rd and 4th because that's our intermediate level. So this is a combination of 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So that very top line is our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. That's the intermediate grades last year. And they're in the same curriculum. So they have the same math curriculum and the same reading curriculum. So I like to group those together. So this is math last year for West Valley. That's 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, or any intermediate grades. And the 52% proficient, I combine the proficient and the advanced all together. So everybody who was proficient in math and intermediate last year at 52%. ELA 3rd, 4th, and 5th was 54% proficient. And we can kind of see also like over the years. So I see the trend over the years, like we were whittling that down back here at math. It was going down and then we hit COVID, and now we're struggling with these kids where they missed out on face value and other early things, and it's showing. It's a hard struggle, I think, against that. There's the ELA and the proficiency in intermediate over time. And then we have the math 6th, 7th, and 8th. So this is for West Valley. Last year, 45% proficient at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And ELA at 59% proficient for 6th, 7th, and 8th. So in ELA, we see that our students who are struggling down there in the novice, that's a growing element. And in math, it went out and then it came back in. It's getting reduced and almost below when the test started. It is below the 2015-16 level for struggling. And you asked some reasons why this is going up and down, and children not talking as much. There's a lot of different reasons if you read the research, because of devices and how often parents are looking at devices versus looking at their child, and the amount of words spoken, it's changing, and the learner is changing. So there's our 6th, 7th, and 8th ELA again at 59% proficient last year. And another way I like to look at this is overtime for a specific grade level. So this is last year's 8th graders. They're in 9th grade, and at 3rd grade in math, 54% proficient or advanced. 4th grade, 45%. And then we had the COVID year where they didn't test, and then they came back. You can see their 6th, 7th, and 8th grade at 44, 42, and 46% proficient in math. That's the state level below it there in the red, 31%, 35, and 32. And something I don't want to tell you to get used to it, but you have to get used to it, is that at middle school, that number drops. As soon as we ask for analysis and algebra readiness, then we see this big drop that happens. And it's this statewide phenomena, and it's a nationwide phenomena. It's something they're working on right now. The SBAC test, the Smarter Balance, I don't know if Richard knows that this might be the last year. The state is developing its own test now for math and reading, which some school districts will take this year, and this might be our last year on SBAC.
Yep.
People are leaving this collaboration in droves, this sort of testing. And so the state is working right now on developing our own state test, and we will leave this form. And I think we've been in this one since 2012 or 13 before we had CRT for math and reading. So anyways, that's last year's 8th grade class over time for math. And then we have last year's ELA for those eighth graders. And this is a situation where I look at that 41% and they were a struggling class, but in a different way. And I felt like after COVID, they were my most behaviorally affected by the shutdown. They left at mid-fifth grade. In sixth grade, they were in pods. They missed a lot of development, things that we do, field trips, experiences, athletics. And I think it was really hard on them. And behaviorally, there was a lot of many great kids, but hard as a group to instruct. And that's where I would say, I think that this 41% there on the ELA doesn't show the same in their STAR tests. And the high school did not do a test that they normally do for language. And so I don't have anything else to triangulate it against. Usually I have 3 separate tests to look at. But the high school did not do that entry test here last year. So I don't know what else to put that against. Current 8th grade students, there's their math proficiencies over time. We see that 3rd grade at 76%, a really high year. Then they did not take the test in 4th grade. And then they came back and they've kind of been holding. They made some gains last year, which is remarkable in middle school to see a score go up. So that's kind of neat to see them rising there at 48%. And this is their ELA, same group, just holding steady on those scores there. Their English language arts, they didn't experience a really great drop there. Some ups and downs. Interesting, the state rose so much in the 21-22 year, rose from 46% to 56%, same group of kids, then back down to 47. And sometimes I think it's luck of the draw of the questions you get on the test. How they formulated the test is pretty volatile. So that's another problem with trying to compare. It's pretty volatile. Current 7th grade students, that's them over time. Hoping to see some gains there. And then I guess last year is the first year of the new math program too, so we can kind of watch that. But then as soon as we're going to switch actual tests. So hard to know. And we've switched teachers almost every year. So 7th grade ELA. And they had really good gains last year. Current 7th grade students had really great gains at 6th grade. In ELA. Current 6th grade students, this is their 5th grade testing and before, there's some math. Quite a big drop last year at 5th grade. And now that there's some other things that were final, I need to look and see like what their experience was. That has a really high level of students who are in special education. So I want to pull that out by the data and see how we're doing with those groups and looking at their programming too. A lot of times we talk about the curriculum that we purchased for the entire school. It's also would be interesting to look at what's going on in special education at their curriculum that we purchased. So in that class, that would be affecting that in some ways. There's their ELA, current 6th grade students in ELA. Current 5th grade students, there's their 3rd and 4th grade scores. And then their ELA. And that's that. So like Tanya was mentioning, like the goal is the 80%. I have friends in Washington that use the same curriculums in their classes, test the same, and score so much higher. And what do they put into it? A ton of money. A lot of taxpayer money. Takes a lot of money to have time because it has to do with people, has to do with the adults, and having enough adults to address their needs. I don't know that it's small groups, but it's what you do in those groups and how you're able to differentiate it by having enough people with enough different students to get what they need is probably what helps to change that. The middle school slump, sometimes, puberty, and then asking for analysis and algebraic concepts is hard. And I get our scores from the high school and the kids pop back out and we see similar things at other schools, but it doesn't keep you from trying and wanting to keep looking to see what do we do better. So that's what I had for that. Any questions about any of that?
Thank you for Yeah, I mean, the graphic is nice to see, but a little disconcerting to look at.
Do you mind sharing that with us?
I did, it's gonna go in the minutes,
Okay.
and. Yeah, it's hard. You know, now that the test is gonna change, so, and the standards are changing, so I've been working with the math standards this summer, the standards will not be the same. I don't think if you're, this isn't 100%, but if you aren't on the algebra track in seventh grade, the students who are not in seventh grade, tend to not be proficient on the summative test. But at that point, so we're looking at them at fifth grade, coming out of fifth grade, are they showing algebra readiness? So they go into fourth, they get into fifth and have a chance at fifth, maybe to advance up. And if they, already, if they don't have their facts and things down and can't manipulate fractions and things, it starts really early on that issue. And then, and it's, when I talk to math teachers across the state, they know the same thing. So there's something wrong with the expectation too. How can the ELA be so high and the math be so low with the same kids and same good instruction? And there's something in the expectation that happens, I think, somewhere between fourth and seventh grade. And really seventh grade would maybe best serve for America if they did it over 2 years. So. But it is shared with you.
Thank you, but if Montana develops its own test, and then we compare, how are we gonna compare that test across the country? We can now, but
we take the NAEP. So Montana students take they get drawn for the NAEP testing. It's a national test. We get drawn a lot because of the size of our school. We got drawn this year, right? We don't get our exact school scores, or do we now? We used to not.
I don't know. It's random sampling. I don't think it's.
Yes, but we can compare that against other states. The NAEP is a test that's given nationwide.
Okay.
And Montana, we can look at that and see and know nationwide how they're scoring, and then on the ACT, so at the junior year. So, yeah, we could make our own test and do really well on it.
That's what I'm wondering
Repeat,
about that.
you know, but they use a nationally normed test, and you're required to do that. I think that's part of the federal funding. You're required to be a part of those testings. And then we get drawn, our eighth grade almost always gets drawn, and they don't test even all of our eighth grade. There's some kids within that get tested. So, and I don't know anybody that's really teaching to a test. I don't know anybody that's teaching to a test. They're teaching to what the standards are. And so I think that's the important part, that we're not, yeah, it would be great to have awesome numbers everywhere, but that just means that you knew this dance. You know, versus maybe knowing how to think well. So, okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone else need this?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna plug in.
This computer, or you got your own?
Okay, thank you, principals. Now we'll go into the superintendent report. Richard.
Try to be brief, because I know we're going a little bit slow tonight. An hour into it, not even action items. All right, so we've been attending boardsmanship training on Thursday evenings since September 14th. This week is our last one, but I just wanted to share with people who are interested some of the things that we've been learning about in there. The one that I guess is the main one is the roles and responsibilities of the board chair and the superintendent. So we attended whatever that was. We attended that and learned kind of how the board and the superintendent work together, and how the board works together in the scope of the entire school process. It's taught by Dr. Ivan Lorenzen. He's an FBCC professor who was a school board member for 18 years and a professor of psychology for 45 years. So it brings a lot of experience with him. I pulled just a few facts from the presentation and learned that 40% of board members are employed in full-time jobs. And as our board definitely knows as well, that it's a separate part-time job to a full-time job in and of itself. I think knowing that going into it, that these people put in a tremendous amount of work, and it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. 56% of board members are male, 44% are female. That's the United States. In Montana, those numbers are flipped exactly. 56% are female, 44% are male. Which is just an interesting thing. And 1 out of 4 board members in the country have experience working in school in any capacity. That could be volunteer or actual employee at any level. On average, this is a huge one that we have to kind of, I guess, just be aware of, that only 30% of residents in a school district actually have kids who attend that school. So you've got 70% of people out there that you're gonna have to convince that the school is important to them and that they do have stake in it, which is hard to do. We know that, but when this statistic was shared, it's like, well, that's why, that's huge. Also, this next thing I think is a huge problem in our state, and that the average number of terms served by a board member is 1. So 2 years is the average time spent on a school board, which is not good. The average number, when you look at the entire country, is 2 terms on a school board. And we're hit over and over and over again. Turnover, you know, at the school board level, administration, superintendent, teachers, all the way down. Turnover means means lower test scores. The school board meetings are largely broken up into what you can talk about in 3 main categories. They're called inputs, outputs, and outcomes. Inputs are things like the budget. And as Mr. Fessler likes to say, that's our peanut butter, right? We only get a certain amount in the jar. That's like facilities, technology, curriculum, staff, OPI things. Outputs are the financial reports that adults look at. And again, that's what Mr. Fessler likes to call the bread. So we've got to spread this peanut butter we get in the jar on the bread. And wherever we don't have peanut butter, that's what doesn't get peanut butter. Those are things like district programming, looking at the standards, PTO, and then administrative level stuff. And again, that's adults looking at information. Outcomes are student led or student, I guess, outcomes like reading, math benchmarks, state assessment scores, behavior data, attendance, goal setting, progress, intervention information, professional development, things that directly affects kids. So it's exciting to see all the data because we're going to start seeing a lot more of that because that's what boards should be looking at. And that's what the community should be looking at as well. Just to give a visual here, it's broken up into a target where you've got the bullseye in the middle is where you're looking at student outcomes a lot. Then as you go away from the bullseye, you're looking at the adult outputs. That's the bread. That's the other stuff adults care about. And then at the very edge of your target is the adult inputs. And that's when you're talking about facilities all the time, budget, etc. So Dr. Lorenzen was a part of a study over many, many years where it analyzed boards and the data that their students saw and what the board meetings talked about. And what they found was that boards that talk about student data a lot are focused, organized, and driven. So this is a board right here that would be kind of talking about students mostly, making decisions that are best in the best interest of students. And that would be kind of like everybody's on the same page and we're all talking about the right things. Then you have a situation where you've got a cluster in one area of the bullseye. And I just put it on the bottom right here randomly, but it's a focus board, obviously, because you've got a nice cluster. Like if I was, actually shooting at it with a rifle, I'd be happy with that. But they're off base. That's a board that has the right intentions, but it's not addressing kids directly. So it's organized, it's focused, but it's kind of just off base a little bit. Then you've got a board in disarray when it's just all over the target. Nobody's talking about the same things. It's single issue. Political agendas tend to dominate discussion. And one thing that I found interesting is this, is that a lot of times people, at least I did in the class, went to COVID and that type of thing causing chaos. But this was a study done from 1979 on. So this is something that has been around forever. COVID is not unique to this, about politics driving board discussion. And then you've got a situation on the target that looks kind of like it's half there. Maybe we're hitting a quarter of the target in one way or another. And that's a nosy board biased in one area that's not focused or organized. So anyway, I found that interesting. That's definitely not the entire course. I just picked out very, very little bits and pieces. And I'll do this each month as long as it'll take me to get through it. There's seven weeks of it? 6 weeks of it. And we're on the 6th week this Thursday. And this was from the very, very, very beginning of the class. So it's been fun to dive in and kind of learn about how boards work, you know, and the relationship between the superintendent and the board.
So Richard, where would you put us on that target?
Where would I put you guys? I'm not answering. I actually, right, let's see.
You guys brown enough.
I was gonna say, I'm right there. Oh, yeah, this was interesting too. I'll just share this before I read this letter. The instructor put it in terms of like a football analogy, because you've got the top, which is community members, and then board, number 2, 3 is superintendent, 4 principals, 5 teachers, and 6 are the students and parents. And so you broke it up into community members are like the fans of the district. They provide the money to the team. They're the ones in the seats watching, right? They're observing. Board members are like the owners of the team. They're the ones who have the money, right? That they're in the suites watching, eating some good food up there. The superintendent is like the head coach or the GM of the team. That's who is in charge of spending the money, the culture and focus of the team. What is going to be our culture here on this team? And that person could be on the sidelines oftentimes. That person could be anywhere. Principals are like the offensive and defensive coordinators and assistants. They're the ones who call the plays, they make the game plan, and they are definitely down with the team on the sidelines. Then you've got the teachers who are like the quarterbacks of the different teams, where you run the plays, you tell everybody else the plays, you execute the game plan. Okay, they're on the field. And then the students and parents are the players who are actually on the team. Their goal is to try to score points and do well and learn. They're on the field and in the locker room. And they go hand in hand, students and parents definitely go hand in hand. So anyway, yeah, and what I have for you so far this week. Any questions about that analogy? Okay, so I got a letter in the mail that's on behalf of Melanie Homegun. So I thought it would be kind of a cool thing to give a shout out to her. It's from the Golden Triangle Curriculum Co-op. It says, "Dear Superintendent Gross, I am writing this letter to commend Melanie Homegun for teaching a wonderful art course at our summer institute this past July. Melanie taught art integration for core subjects through the eyes of great masters in art to 13 students in Malta. Some of the comments from her course. Instructor was well prepared and very engaging. I learned a lot of material in a very short time. I loved this teacher. She made me feel safe to make mistakes. There was no criticism. Useful projects for my classroom. Thanks for a fun 2 days. It pushed me outside my comfort zone on a lot of projects. Thank you. The instructor is extremely knowledgeable about the material being taught. We appreciate having Melanie teach for the Golden Triangle and look forward to working with her in the future." So definitely a nice letter. So yeah, absolutely. It's really, really cool to get that kind of thing and be able to celebrate that. So there we go. So the disappointing thing that we'll talk about today is the levies that failed in Kalispell. And the thing to mourn is that they were not even close. You saw 3 go down pretty emphatically, and that's kind of concerning to us as we gear up and go to try to pass a levy that's so much needed. A lot of discussion about how to best get the message out, and to be honest, when you see 3 of them go down like that in a row, without even kind of the ability to, say, well, if we swing 3 or 4%, then we'll get there. But it was definitely not that way. So we're gonna have a long road ahead there. A really good thing though, is we hosted 8 Glacier High football players this last Thursday. They came in to read with the kindergarten and first grade classrooms. That was a lot of fun. Most of them were former, but maybe one were former West Valley students who were playing on the Glacier football team. The kitchen is rocking it. We've got a record number of kids who are eating. We had more than half of the school eat a couple of times and have set some records as far as meals being served. They also received an A+ from the health inspector when they came last Friday to do a health inspection. So there's really good things happening in the kitchen, and it's been a great success this year. Again, we're working to get subs to fill positions. Brooke, Tanya, Alicia, Tina, Terry, everybody is struggling real hard to make things work. Things come up during a day and things need to be covered. I was outside myself today covering recess for 40 minutes. It happens, and it's just a thing that we're gonna have to maybe try to mitigate, because it's getting to the point where we're not even in the 6th season yet. We're not even, in the doldrums of winter, and it's already getting pretty hard. Sprinklers are blowing out and ready for the winter. That's nice to be done with that. Hopefully they do nothing damaged this year like we did last year. I reached out to Dewey at Universal Athletics to kind of come up with a way we can do a store there again, like we've done in the past with West Valley Gear. And I've got a couple of options to talk to you guys about and what direction we want to go. Both of them are great options, but we have to let him know what we'd like to do so we can start to implement. Then let's see, color printing has become a really high expense for us. Some facts down here. So we are up a total of 22% in printing from this time in September last year, and 34% higher in color. The reason that's significant is because of the cost to print in color versus the cost to print in black and white. Color is 11 cents on average per page, or black and white is 1 cent. So if you print basically 1 color paper, that's 11 black and white. The cost adds up to a really shocking amount that you wouldn't really think about. If we continue at this pace, and there's no saying that we won't, just because we compared the same numbers throughout the year, last year to this year, our budget will increase, our color budget will increase by $12,200. That's quite considerable. So I'm planning on, we've met as a team to kind of discuss how we address this kind of a cost. And so we may, just to give people a heads up, implement some sort of controls over color printing, because it's just becoming such a high expense for us. And remember that that's just the increase of the budget is $12,000. We're paying well north of $20,000+ just to print. So anyway, yeah. Other than that, I think that's really all I have. So thank you.
Thank you. That's great. We'll go on to the action items. Okay, A, review and approve Ashley Hammer to become notary public Mark, did you want to address that for us? please?
Sure, yeah, we've always had a notary public on staff here to handle notification of documents. Cecilia was one, when she left, we didn't have one. We just hired Ashley Hammer to be a district secretary, or not district secretary, she's an assistant secretary, who is in charge of the food program. She replaced Sherry Lee's. And she's already gone through the course, identified as a surety bond source application fee, and she's got a stamp ready to go. So for $138, we can have her fill those roles. That was one of the items in the bills that you guys approved. Just wanted to have you be aware of that.
Entertain a motion to accept Ashley Hammer. I don't read public.
I'll make motion to approve Ashley Hammer from the Notary Public for the school.
I'll second.
Favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous. Review and approve proposed change to the orange bus route. Mark,
So I'll represent Brooke on this one. This has been something that's been underway since Laura Cox was here. I guess due to the housing changes, and somebody that's more familiar with the neighborhood can say what's going on, but we're talking about adding or changing the location of a bus stop. The map is included. There's a link as well as an explanation. The county's already been notified, and we just need your approval to continue with this.
Who suggests the change? Is it the bus drivers typically, or?
It can be anybody, really. A parent, this is somebody who called this one in. Laura would drive, and Brooke does too, kind of drives and makes sure that the routes make sense and the stops make sense. So.
I'll make a motion to approve the change to the orange bus route.
I'll second it.
all in favor? Is there any discussion?
I haven't heard any change in cost, so I don't think this doesn't matter.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Opposed? Right, unanimous. Approved adding Brooke Ells, district secretary to the Glacier bank account.
So in the process of adding me to all the bank accounts, we realized that Brooke was the only person of the three of us, between Shannon, King, and myself, that was not on this account. We need to have three of us on there to have the necessary backups that we need to have to do things like our ACHs and fund transfer. So this was make sure we got three of us in the main office listed on the account.
Would there be a three-year account too, right? Is that?
Yes, yeah, I just got on that 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
But she doesn't need to get added to that.
I believe she's on that. I'll
okay.
check on that. I think all three of us are on there.
I'll make a motion to add Brooke Ells to the Glacier bank account.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Unanimous. Approve West Valley School student attending Evergreens out of district repaid in arrears, which is a
Yeah,
concept.
anytime we have a student transferring out of district, the board needs to be notified of this. You were notified of a number of these in July and August, and this is just one that is, the timing is now for this one. We received, Brooke and I received paperwork on this 2 weeks ago. This child that needs to move to the Crossroads program from here.
Mhm. So,
And they were out of district then already.
We pay out of district. This is an in-district student that has to be
All right.
transported over to Evergreen in the Crossroads program.
How many of them have we got, Mark?
At Crossroads or out of
Mhm.
district? I'd have to look that up for you.
Okay, that's why I just thought maybe.
I will get, Jeff asked, do we have people on Three Rivers? I'll check on that.
Pardon me, at Crossroads,
At Crossroads, I believe 3.
3. This is one of
Middle
the.
school.
One elementary, correct, and two five to eight.
Oh, okay. So we've only got three. He's one of three then. It's good.
I'll make a motion to approve the West Valley student attending Evergreen Schools Crossroads program.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Approve disposing removal of surplus elementary cafeteria equipment. We just pictured.
Yeah, I thought it'd be useful. I mean, Richard, I thought it'd be useful to know what we're talking about here. So
That's
Jeff
great.
is doing a super job, great, energetic, and, you know, and he's sort of taking the helm and he's saying, hey, let's get this place.
Right, clean it up.
Yeah, so he's.
Yeah, there's a milk cooler that's no longer being used or necessary. And then there's a condiment dispenser that came years and years ago, we've never used. It's pictured in there, but we will keep the hand washing station, just because that's something that we'll need for Rolene or whoever's serving food in there to be able to quickly wash their hands. One thing they did say about our sink is that it's far away from the kitchen or where we serve. So they would like us to keep that one. So right now it's just the milk cooler that is no longer needed and the condiment dispenser. Will free up some space in there.
Look, the milk cooler looked good on your deck.
That's right. That's what, yeah.
The creamery owner that might.
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah, that may happen.
Competitive bidding, I like that already. Yeah.
I'll make a motion then to approve the removal of those cafeteria items.
Was it just two really? The two now, because we
Yeah.
keep band watching.
Sounds like it came down to two after the inspection, so we had
Yeah.
those three, and so just we're expected two last week, right? Last week, Friday.
Yeah, on Friday, yeah.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Approved disposal of obsolete tech equipment, which I believe Kat's already been working on that. and
Yeah, she,
It's been successful.
oh, she's been incredibly
Yeah.
successful. If
Yeah.
you remember, we at first thought we had 7 Acer bases, and she's far exceeded that. And so, and the I'm surprised, I think everybody, including herself, $75 a piece, and she's raised enough money to start replacing batteries in Chromebooks. This is going to be an ongoing issue, though, as we talked about tech obsolescence. And so I had her create a spreadsheet that's attached, and we'll just look at that on an ongoing basis. And you're free to ask questions. Probably before the meeting, or if she's here, would be best. So it kind of presses my ability to understanding all the technology here, to be honest with you. But yeah, so she's going to do the same thing, post this around the school, and see first, and then do a public posting with prices on it, see if we can get rid of it. So far, it's been generated almost $400 for us for income.
So we would be okay in here would be the sheet that she had presented. We'd be okay, everything that's on that sheet, or going forward, the whole concept of.
No, good question. I think I could add a column to that sheet, and so check off whatever items you have approved, and then it'll be a rolling sheet, because you'll see how much she's gonna keep going through. If you go back to that room, Mark Wilson's old sort of repair room, you'll see there's all sorts of opportunity for obsolescence back there.
Opportunity for obsolescence. Quite a term.
Quite political.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the disposal of obsolete tech equipment.
I'll second it.
All right, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Recommendation to hire Jessica Levitt as 8th grade. Go ahead, Richard, are you with this?
Yeah,
I'm not.
Jessica
basketball
Levitt.
coaches.
Coached before and is going to coach 2 teams. Nate Brown is 7th grade basketball coach, Thomas Trin as the 5th, 6th combo basketball coach, and then Catherine Reynolds is 5th grade basketball coach. I think Mark, isn't Catherine at halftime?
Yeah, Catherine, that's a 5th, 6th. She's just gonna be a halftime coach on that, or part-time, half of the stipend. I know we've talked in the past about having stipends and salaries ready to go for the approval process. If you have questions, Terry got me that information today and I have the contracts written up, so they're consistent with our current CBA. I think Jessica has 6 years, 6 years of experience. She gets 2 stipends. For contracts.
Is the fifth grade, the 5th, 6th combo, that's on boys, correct? These coaches?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
that's
believe
boys.
these are all
Yeah.
boys.
All boys.
They're all
Right,
boys,
because
yeah.
the-
And then
The seasons are a little.
that's the turnout for the 5th, 6th was just
Split
for
that
one,
way.
just to fill one team.
Sounds that way. Yeah, the boys season goes from October, middle of October to middle of December.
December,
That's what it
yeah.
goes, and then the girls starts after.
What was this, these, positions then, are they part, have they been in the budget or are these new positions that'll be?
They're the same amount that we had last year. So it's the same number of coaches. We didn't add any coaches. this year.
Oh, okay. So these are, okay,
We have a coaching line item.
Right.
And it is, I think it's the same amount that we spent
approximately the
last
same.
year,
Now,
so
we're not
it's gonna be
adding a
very
bunch of
close.
Coaches, really,
It's-
we're
Right,
just
yeah.
right.
putting new, okay, replacing coaches then, okay.
I'll make a motion to hire the coaching staff as presented.
I'll second it. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Passed unanimously. All right, those are the action items. The following DBAs were reviewed and approved by myself and Mr. Fessler after preliminary approval by the curriculum committee. So these were, did you want to address that?
Yeah, so
Sure.
DPA is data privacy agreement, and so anytime we have a student's name out there, we need to have one of these in place, and that verifies that the company has the right procedures and protocol in place to protect the students. We decided based on, right, when we went to our boardsmanship training, that Kalispell was taking this offline, so we wouldn't spend so much board time on this. So these are already approved by the curriculum committee. And have gone through tech review as well. So we've taken those offline. Just wanted everyone to be aware of those. There are links to those. There's very boilerplate, but you can see which areas they apply to. That was that.
That's already been taken care of.
Did that last week.
We're on top of that one. The summary of claims processed for the counting period at 9/23.
The reason I put this as an information items with a link to the total claims. If you remember, we had a batch 1 of claims that we did at the regular board meeting on 9/11, I think it was. And then I asked for additional time to process claims. The backlog of claims, then also some last minute claims that we had associated with spending extra ESSER funds and title funds, which bumped that we needed until 9:30 in order to do that. And so that just has an entire list so that there's public disclosure of what we billed for the month of for the accounting period ending 9/30. You had a partial list of the 9/11 board meeting. That has everything. That's
And
that.
so that's here and.
Yep, there's a
with
link
that-
there
with
that
the
shows
agenda, there's a
everything,
link,
that
So,
all of our non-electronic and electronic claims or bills.
so we can be looking at those. Okay. And then our first school board working session will be Thursday, 10/26 at 7 AM in the library. We're gonna give that a try and, we'll get together, Richard and Mark and I probably, and come up. So, if anybody has any ideas what they'd like to put on that, it'll be a primitive agenda, because we're not gonna be following it exactly to the letter, but we'd like to have some kind of an idea about where we'll focus at the work of the meeting. So that, this first one might be a little rocky, but we're going to try following some sort of an agenda and keep it within a reasonable time frame. So that's to everyone needs to put that on their calendars for that first one. And then the the October A and B results. I think we had.
Yeah.
Alicia already addressed the elementary part of it and,
Yeah, and in total, we're 760 students, which was 2 down from the October count last year.
Hmm.
And then we count again in February.
so we're not adding our 5.5%, so we're not giving that additional money again.
That's right.
I mean, that has its pluses and minuses, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. So,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
You're adjourned.